of the Parks, Recreation, and Arts Commission to order. City Clerk, would you please do roll call?
Commissioner Ward,
Present.
Commissioner Kucharski,
Here.
Commissioner Barraza,
Here.
Commissioner Singh, absent. Commissioner Cummings,
Present.
Commissioner Miller,
Present.
Vice Chair Dolan,
Present.
Chair McCoy.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. We will now begin the Pledge of Allegiance. Will everyone please stand? Ready, salute. We will start with the approval of the agenda. City Clerk, are there any changes or proposed changes to the agenda for tonight?
There are no proposed changes to the agenda.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Miller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say no. This item has passed. We will now move on to the approval of minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes from October 16th, 2023, or proposed changes?
There are no changes at this time.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Miller. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Vice Chair Dolan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say no. This item is approved. We will now move on to subcommittee reports. This item is a discussion item for the commission, and no public comments will be taken related to this item. Does the Cultural Arts Plan Subcommittee have an update it would like to provide to this commission?
Yes, the art grant guidelines will be presented to City Council this Thursday, November 2nd.
Thank you. Does the Parks Master Plan Subcommittee have an update it would like to provide to the commission?
Yes, we do. Last week, we met to discuss a couple of more chapters from the master plan, chapters 2 and 7, and so and 4. So we went through that with the subcommittee, and we're on track for the next meeting, which will also include another couple of chapters.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will now move on to member reports and comments. Commissioner Barraza, do you have any reports and comments you'd like this commission to know?
Madam Chair, I'd just like to inform the commission that this next 2 weekends coming up, we're going to have a tree planting day, and we're working closely with Parks Department staff, and we're actually replacing or installing or planting new trees where trees have died, and it's all done at no cost to the city of Fresno, and we're very happy to be very involved in that project. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm excited for that project. Commissioner Miller, do you have any reports or comments you'd like the commission to know?
Nothing at this time, thanks.
Thank you. Vice Chair Dolan, do you have any comments?
Nothing at this time.
Thank you. Commissioner Cummings, any reports or comments for the commission?
Sure, since we're talking about tree planting. So we had a nice tree planting with Tree Fresno on Friday morning with Golden Charter Academy at a park called Almy Park in southwest Fresno. So it's a very small park, but had 18 trees total. So we partner with Public Works and also Parks to make that happen. There were about 46 second graders on that planting, and then many families, probably about 20 families present. So it was really a wonderful event. They not only prepare for the tree planting, but the children also prepare research and papers and artwork associated with the value of trees.
Oh, that's awesome. Sounds really fun. Glad that park got some trees. Commissioner Kucharski, do you have any comments?
No, not at this time.
Commissioner Ward, any comments or reports?
None, thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to the city administration and park staff reports and comments. Does anyone from the administration have any reports or comments for the commission?
Good evening. Yes, I have one comment. My name is Jennifer Reese. I'm Deputy City Manager and representing the administration tonight. I just wanted to make a comment about the budget process and really encourage both the public and the commission, if you haven't already done so, to maybe revisit your notes from the last budget hearing session in June. I know that, May, June, when all of the city officials are discussing the budget, that's the time that we get a lot of public comment, and we get recommendations during that time. But now is really the ideal time to be having these discussions. It gives the department an opportunity to consider including those recommendations in their budget submission. And if there's anything that need cost estimates, it gives us a chance to do those cost estimates and get a more accurate number. So I just really want to encourage any of those items that maybe didn't make it into the budget in the last round, that we can have that discussion during these next few meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone from the park staff have any reports or comments for the commission?
I do. I have a few comments. This is Assistant Director Ed Chenevere, standing in for Director Aguirre today. And just a quick thank you to Tree Fresno and CEFSETA for your support on those tree planting events. We really appreciate it. Some other quick updates. We have Halloween and Harvest Festival events underway throughout the city right now. So huge thank you to all of our park staff for putting on about 24 events and citywide, including some events that are still ongoing. Tonight there's actually a haunted house at Pinedale, and tomorrow actually. And that's from 6 to 9 p.m. Holmes Playground Spooky Special is tomorrow from 4 to 6 p.m. So we invite families to come out and enjoy in those festivities. Also, of course, the Cultural Arts Plan will be at City Council on Thursday, as Commissioner Ward indicated. So just a reminder on that. And in community outreach, we've had a couple activities. We had a community engagement meeting at El Radka Dog Park last Tuesday. Over there, that's the new dog park that we're going to be constructing, the small dog park that will augment the existing dog park so we can separate large and small dogs. It was well attended. We had a lot of dogs in attendance as well. So really enjoyed hanging out with our furry friends last Tuesday. And some additional senior center outreach activities are on the way as well. So the second round of community engagement, and there are flyers in the back if anybody would like to pick one up, is about to start. We're going to have an event on November 7th at our Senior Activity Center Outreach Headquarters. That's at 4325 North Blackstone in the commercial strip adjacent to the former Vons building where the Senior Center will be constructed. That one's also a hybrid meeting where people can join virtually as well. On November 8th, we'll be at Ted C. Wills Community Center. On November 14th at Senior Citizens Village, and on November 15th at the Link at Blackstone. So we encourage you to help us get anybody out to tell us what they think about the amenities that are currently being proposed and that they would like to see at the Senior Activity Center. And those are my comments.
Thank you. I have a question. November 7th meeting is the only meeting that has the hybrid option, or all meetings have the hybrid option?
That's right. So November 7th is from 5:30 to 7 p.m. That's the hybrid meeting.
And that's the only hybrid meeting for these outreaches?
That's the only one for this second phase of outreach, yep.
Okay, thank you. We will now move on to unscheduled communication. Would any member of the public like to speak on any issue within the jurisdiction of this commission? You will have up to 3 minutes. As a reminder, if you would like to comment on the scheduled workshops, now is the time to make those comments. If you would like to make a comment regarding any of the scheduled hearings, comments will be taken when each item is called.
Good evening, commissioners and city staff. Great to be here with you all tonight. Sarah Parks. I wanted to make a quick comment about both of the workshops. First, for the Park Ranger program, having not seen the presentation yet, I hope I'm not making assumptions, but it looks like there might be some consideration about changing the uniform for the park rangers to be more in line with like the National Park Service. And I just want to give a shout out to that. I think that's a great idea and would encourage you to encourage that process. So I was happy to see that. On the programs, wow, the city's doing a lot. I actually recently earned on Facebook a top contributor on the Parks Department page because it's really fun to see everything that's happening. As I was looking through this, I see this as a very great overview of all of the programs that the Parks Department runs. I was curious as I was reviewing it if the Parks Department is meeting the goals for participation. And what's going through my mind, I recall last year during this period of time, there was a lot of public input about other programs and projects, and the commission did try to put some funding for Measure P further out into the community. So just curious about the city's capacity, and is the city meeting the goals that's laid out for the Parks Department for the programs? And as you're thinking about recommendations, maybe consider again funding for other community organizations to help amplify and build capacity for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else in chamber wanting to make comments? Do we have anyone online?
There are no speakers at this moment.
Thank you. We will now move on to workshops. ID number 23-1579, scheduled workshop for commission comments and suggestions relating to the Park Ranger program. Would someone from the Fresno Police Department please begin the presentation?
Good evening, Commission. I'm Paco Balderrama, Chief of Police for the Fresno Police Department, and I'm here to give you a short presentation and explanation on the status of the Park Ranger program, where we're at now, and kind of, how we've gotten here so far. Just waiting for the slide to come up. There it is. Okay, so as many of you already know, this is a new program which was stood up, began last year, October of 2022, and it's been a long process. Please keep in mind that part of what we were tasked to do is to come up with protocols, certifications, and a training program for the cadet program. For the Park Ranger program. During that time, we have interviewed over 100 candidates. Right now, we have 6 park rangers hired and working, but we have another 10 that will begin later on this month, and we're conducting interviews to fill the last 4 positions, so that'll give us a total of 20 park rangers working for the city of Fresno. The training program is approximately 400 hours. There were a lot of different thoughts and recommendations as far as how quickly we could stand this program up. But please understand that, not only do we have to do an orientation, but we have to go through a field training program for the park rangers. We have to get them bike certified. As you know, that is one of the vehicles that is utilized in the park ranger program, and they have to receive that certification. There's also 1-day Polaris utility training, so we can't just put them on, the 4-wheelers. They have to be certified. They have to be trained on it. Along with that is also the orientation as far as using the radios, the police radios, and what channels to use, how to operate them, the correct radio traffic lingo. We also get them certified in OC spray so they can have some type of defense, although they're not armed security guards and they're not police officers. So this is just an example of the week-by-week training that the park rangers receive before they're actually out there on their own in parks. The four main duties, and we've just categorized them as these are generally speaking. Number one, visibility. We want our park rangers to be seen throughout the parks. We want the public to know that they're there. We want the public to feel confident that they can go to any city park and they can feel safe, they can utilize the facilities, and they can feel free to roam around the park. So their primary function is to just be visible. That way, if there is criminal element at or near the park, they know that there's somebody there from city staff, a park ranger, that is there to give assistance to anyone who might need it. Identification and reporting of crimes. One of the advantages of having a city employee being a park ranger at the park is that we can deter the facilities from being vandalized, from being burglarized. And clearly, if they see somebody who they think is of criminal element, they have police radios. So there's no 911 call. They can directly contact a working patrol officer who's hopefully nearby, who can respond to the park quickly and give them assistance. Writing of citations, they are trained in writing basic citations. Keep in mind, this is not an overtly enforcement program. We don't expect our park rangers to apprehend, to chase anybody down, to tackle anybody from behind, nothing like that. But they do have the ability to give basic citations for littering, public drunkenness. If they identify somebody who's at the park who's violated one of these crimes, they can write a citation, but they would call a police officer to come out there and assist them. Also making basic police reports. They are going to be a pretty significant help for the police department, because it doesn't take a police officer to go to the park to take a basic police report, such as a auto burglary or vandalism or something minor like that. So they do give us that flexibility to have somebody on the facility who can take these basic police reports. And then, in my opinion, probably their most important function is community engagement. We want our park rangers to be there to give information to anybody who's at the park, to help in education, any city campaign that we have that is directed towards parks, festivities, holidays, things like that. They are a resource to anybody using the park and an extension of the city, providing information to anybody who is at the park. This is just a basic rundown of our policy. 1049.3. This just gives an overall general rules as far as what they are not to do, and you can read those through yourself, but basically we do not want or encourage our park rangers to confront anybody who's of criminal element, somebody who may have a weapon on their possession. We don't expect our park rangers to be confrontational or to act in the role of a police officer. That's why we have police officers. They are basically our eyes and our ears at the park. And they provide information to police officers so we can quickly get there to the scene, identify if there is a safety issue, and address it. But this is the policy that we use to give them guidance. One of the things that we have been doing, we've been doing monthly check-ins. Clearly, I work very closely with Aaron Aguirre, the Parks Director, in envisioning what this new program is going to look like. And because of the enforcement capabilities of park rangers, they're able to write citations, they're able to make police reports, official police reports. They have a police radio. That's why the decision was made to have them under the police department as far as the management of the program. But clearly, the park ranger program is an extension of parks, who do have limited enforcement powers. But what we do is we check in with, well, number one, I talk to Aaron quite a bit, but we do have monthly check-ins where we give them a status report as far as hiring, how many more park rangers we are yet to hire, what the process is. We've run all the policies by parks, training updates, Q&A on how this is going. And again, I go back to, this is a brand new program that we had to stand up from the ground up and really had to kind of, create the program as we went along. This next slide is just a basic photocopy of what their schedule looks like. So they work 4 days a week. They work 10-hour work days, and there's primarily 2 shifts, a day shift and an evening shift from 6:30 in the morning to 4:30 in the afternoon, and then from noon to 10 p.m. And we designed these 2 shifts to overlap during the busy time, so we'll have extra park rangers working during the overlap hours, but obviously we wanted them until the parks closed that night, and to provide some assistance to parks in locking down the parks and making sure that any equipment that is at each site is maintained and is visible to them, make sure that nothing gets broken into or stolen. A quick rundown of the equipment. Right now, we were able to purchase, Parks was able to purchase 5 Ford Mavericks. We were actually pretty lucky in getting these small trucks because they are hybrids. They are large enough to where they can transport their e-bikes or their mountain bikes to off-site locations. And also they can pull a trailer, so they can trailer the Polaris 4x4 that can be utilized at certain sites. As I said, we have 5 Polaris Rangers and 5 Trek e-bikes. Now, this is just what we were able to purchase the first year, but we have to double that fleet. We would like to, in order to have 20 park rangers who are going to be mobile, be able to access the different parks, we are going to need an additional 5 Ford Mavericks. And then 5 trailers. The Polaris Rangers are enough. 5 of them are enough, but we are looking to purchase trailers so we can trailer them to some of the park facilities that are off-site or a little bit further distance. And then 5 additional e-bikes. And lastly, I know that there was a lot of interest in the uniforms. These are just some mock-ups of potential uniforms. So the standard uniform color for a park ranger, like as comparative to the Forestry Service, is OD green pants or the green pants that you see there, or BDUs. Obviously, in Fresno, it gets quite hot, so we do want to give them the option of wearing shorts during the summer months, and then a tan top. These are some of the logos. So one of the ideas is to put the actual parks logo embroidered over the polo shirt on the left side to replace a badge. And then we're still mocking up several versions of the patch, something that identifies them as a park ranger. We are open to recommendations from this commission as far as what the eventual final uniform is going to look like. So that is basically all that I have. What I'd really like to do is answer any questions that this commission may have. Lieutenant Brian Baez is my lieutenant that has worked really, really hard to put this program together. I did not allow him to come today because he had a family member who was two family members who recently were deceased, and today was a funeral. So I opted for him to be with his family and for me to give this presentation to the commission. Any questions?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. The first observation is when I saw the photo of and you already pointed it out, Chief, when I saw the uniform, they look like cadets, police cadets, and which is wonderful. I mean, we love blue and we have a lot of respect for the police department. However, we wanted to showcase the parks component. Someone mentioned the National Park Service. Yeah, green. I mean, they stand out as park rangers. And we were hoping that this would also stand out for a lot of reasons. The investment that the community is making in improving public safety at the parks, funding more positions to help, it's very positive, and we have to demonstrate to the community that we're getting a good return on our investment. And you folks, between you and the director of the Parks Department, Aaron Aguirre, are looking for ideas of how to make it work. I know that your minds are wanting to make it successful, but I think a lot of it has to do with perception. And I have seen, the one thing I liked so far was that I saw a pickup that said Park Ranger. I said, wow, that's good. That's going in the right direction. I saw this photo here that has the logo of the Parks Department, and I don't remember having seen that on the pickup. Is that on the pickup?
That is the logo that we have on there. I, like you, think that it's very important that the public see their return on the investment, and this is a parks program. So we want the parks logo on the vehicles, that it shows that this is a partnership between the Fresno Police Department and the Parks Department to provide safety at all the parks here in Fresno.
And I personally appreciate that you already have identified a couple of possibilities. I think, at least from my perspective, I think it would be nice that they do look like park rangers. And I think we love the police, and at the end, we need both because the park rangers are kind of limited in what they can do. But it would be nice just to see them and that the public makes a connection to Measure P. They are related to a very distinct investment that the community is making to improve public safety. So there was that, and there was another little comment I wanted to do about the involvement of your department in the design of parks, because public safety can be impacted by the environment, how the walls, how the fences of the park. And I was just wondering, I do not know the answer is, are you folks participating in the design of new parks to make them safe from the standpoint of how they're designed?
Not specifically. One new thing that we've started doing with our park rangers is that they are getting a certification or a training called Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design, CPTED for short. This is nothing new. This program's been around for, I think, in excess of 30 years. And it's basically exactly what you're talking about, designing buildings, lighting, exposure, visibility, to make a facility, a park, a building, less attractive to criminals. So our park rangers are going to have a community engagement component to it, to where they're trained in this type of discipline, but also to be able to educate the public on what to do. For example, something as simply as don't leave your valuables visible in your vehicle when you go to a park. You know, we have a lot of break-ins at parks, and part of the problem is that when you leave a laptop or a cell phone out there visible, well, then it's going to make it more of an attractive. So something that simple to educate the public, hey, make sure you don't do that. So we want our park rangers to be engaging. We want them to be educators. We want them to be kind of a source for information for anyone using the parks. But as far as designing, facilities, that's not an area where we've proactively engaged in. Clearly, if Director Aguirre asks for our help, we're going to be there to help him.
And one last question, Madam Chair. Cultural awareness, I didn't see that listed on your training for them. Do you provide, many families, depending on their ethnic backgrounds, have different habits, different ideas, different ways of behaving, and they're not bad ideas, they're just different, and we all are different, but we're all part of the same community. How do you prepare the park rangers to be understanding in the different approaches from different ethnic groups?
Well, in my experience, the best type of training is to actually do it yourself. So what we do is we pair up our park rangers with some of our community service officers, the ones who are in charge of community engagement events at the various districts, because they get a lot of exposure to the community. And I think you're 100% correct. When you're going to live in a city that's considered the 9th most diverse city in America, you better have some cultural training, some understanding of the many communities that live in your city. So we do give them training. It's part of the 400 hours of engaging, of communicating, of different cultures, of how to engage. And that's part of their training. Really what we have found out is once they get out there and they're exposed to the community, that's where they really learn. That's where they really develop themselves as far as how to engage with people. I use myself as an example. My previous city wasn't nearly as diverse as the city of Fresno. But you go to enough events, you engage with enough people, you open your heart and mind to other communities, and you tend to learn about the culture, you learn about the music, you learn about the food. But there's nothing like experiencing it yourself. So that's the best training for our park rangers. But we do expose them to what they're going to see out there in the community and how to best engage with our community.
Is there a possibility that the park rangers one day will become peace officers?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, we had more of them, but a couple of them are going to start they're going to become cadets, and they're going to grow into a police academy and become police officers. So this is a natural transition to whatever professional desires are, whether it's to be a park ranger for 20 years or whether start as a park ranger and then move on to do something else. We really hope that we can continue to develop this program as being an opportunity for the city to get a highly competent workforce from within our community and not to hire from outside the city.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome, Commissioner Barraza. Commissioner Miller, do you have any questions in regards to the presentation?
Just a quick one. As this program gets built out, are the park rangers dispatched in a similar way to the way police would be, or would they just be on a rotating thing?
That's a great question. Yeah. Thank you for your question. I didn't cover that earlier. So, I mean, right now we only have 20 of them. In my humble opinion, I think to adequately cover all the parks in this city, we're going to need at least twice as many. What we do is we assign them to districts. So we know we have 5 policing districts, and we know which parks are in each one of the policing districts. So they're assigned to the district. That way they have their own supervisor, they have their own span of control, and then they make their rounds through the various parks. Now, you guys know more about parks than I do, but I know that we have some very small parks that are pocket parks in very safe communities that really don't require a whole lot of attention. And then we have our larger parks that, where a lot of people frequent those parks, which need more coverage, more visibility. That's why it's important that they be mobile. That's why we went with the idea of the e-bikes. They're able to, I mean, it's an outdoor vehicle. They can maneuver quickly, especially in a large park such as Woodwork. There's trails there. But that's how they do it. They basically rotate through the parks. And we also get information directly from parks and directly from the activity that happened throughout the week. So we know if there was, for example, if there was a vandalism at one of the parks, within that park ranger has that information. They know, hey, we were vandalized at this park. We need to give this area a little bit more attention. So basically just common sense, reports, information. But in order to adequately cover all these parks, I don't think we're going to be able to do it with just 20 park rangers.
Vice Chair Dolan.
Yes. First of all, Chief, thank you very much for the presentation. Sure. Really appreciate the time and effort that went into that. A couple of questions. What is the starting rate of pay for the Rangers?
Well, that's a great question. I actually do not know. I think it's comparable to our CSO. Director Aguirre, do you know what that? Okay, great.
Okay, we'll get to that. And I'm going to betray some of my own. We spent a lot of time talking about the park rangers earlier when the commission was talking about this, and the idea of safety being obviously a great need, and I think you are wrestling with this too. We don't want them to be police officers and law enforcement presence per se, so much as we want them to help create a sense of safety and presence. And so I wonder, when I hear the word ranger in my field, that's often somebody who has some sort of law enforcement presence, but also has a lot of information about the natural history of the area, the nature, et cetera. And I wonder if we're contemplating, I know you're trying to get this program off the ground and there's a lot to figure out, but I'm wondering if we're contemplating adding maybe a layer of that kind of information. I think it could be really valuable. So much of park use, I think, can be deepened and enriched by people understanding even some really humble facts about urban nature and things like that. And the parks, particularly Woodward, Roding, and some of the other parks, are actually quite beautiful green spaces and natural areas. So I appreciate, you're saying like, this actually can be a career pathway for folks to get into law enforcement. But I would hope, too, that we're also looking at the qualifications and job description is written for people who are interested in that more community-oriented or perhaps urban naturalist-oriented approach to some of this, because I think that can also be really valuable in all this.
So I really appreciate your input. I actually had not considered that angle, but I think that's one of the beautiful things about a new program like the Park Rangers is that we get to create it, to fit the needs or fill the needs of this community. Yeah. So, I learned a long time ago that the best type of leader is a flexible one. So I certainly am that, and as police chief, I want our park rangers to be well trained. I want them to be professional. I want them to be visible. I want them to be able to identify crime as it's happening and know how to report it. That's the functionality of, working in the police department. But everything else, as far as the community engagement, the history, the knowledge of each park and how it came to be, I think that's something that we're very open to, and we want them to be engaging. We don't want them to be a symbol of obviously they represent parks and they represent the city, but I want them to be very much approachable and individuals that any child may want to go up to and ask questions, and that's certainly something that is one of our goals. Let's see, I have the.
Great, thank you.
All right, so it looks like this is step A would be $36.16 per month. So you can do the math there. Okay, so starting pay is about $20 an hour, and tops out at about $25.
Okay.
So in California, I've learned that that's not a whole lot of money, but it is a good stepping stone, and it gives us some place to start and work our way up.
410. Thank you very much. I
Sure.
appreciate it.
Commissioner Cummings, you have any questions regarding this presentation?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Commissioner Kurchowski?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I'm very excited. Thank you. I wanted to suggest maybe, and it's along the same vein as you were bringing up, career pathway for parks, like state parks or even federal parks. I know with the district we have a couple programs through Cal Parks that's looking at career development pipelines because for diversifying those career pathways, because there's not a lot of ways for folks to get into natural resource conservation work. This could be a really cool bridge that we could start here in Fresno into all kinds of career pathways for people who don't even know they could go into those types of careers. And secondly, I think another suggestion would be really neat if part of their training or their outlook was taking ownership in the parks and looking at, hey, I'm a park ranger, I'm at this park every week. I notice there's a lot of people who don't have a place to sit. So maybe they start to bring suggestions forward on how to improve the parks or hear from the community members there because they're visiting them often, that could be part of their job to start becoming aware of ways in which to make the park a better space. So just a suggestion. I know you have a lot you're
Well, thank you for that recommendation.
Yeah.
To your point, when I want to figure out if something works within the police department, I do ask my deputy chiefs, but I think a lot of times I get a lot more accurate information by asking the police officers who are actually doing the work. And I think that's what you're referring to. If they're going to be out there in the parks, they get to see, what areas need improvement and enhancement. And I'm sure Director Aguirre would be very open to their recommendations.
Commissioner Ward?
Thank you for your presentation. I also just wanted to express support for the direction that the uniforms are going, and I think it'll be exciting to see this program grow.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions, Chief. When I was working on the Measure P campaign, and correct me if I'm wrong for some of you guys who are familiar with the Measure P campaign, but we wanted the park rangers to be present in regular clothes, be present like they were attending the park, but also be building relationships with the people in the park, be a trusted messenger, not to stand out as some type of authority. And how I do like how the uniforms have been changed, it still looks like a police officer, even though it's a park ranger, still looks some type of authoritative in placement in the park. And from some of the residents that I talk to that are engaging with the park rangers in the parks, that they're not engaging, that they're just there to be present, so they're not welcoming. And one of our goals when we were working on Measure P is for them to be present, to be engaging, to be trusted, to know the park that they're at, to know the residents and the kids that visit that park on a frequent basis, and just build relationships to make parks more welcoming. Even though we want to keep our parks safe, but we also know that we need to feel welcome in our parks for us to keep going back there. A lot of our parks have family activities, family reunions, birthday parties, things like that. We have sports events. So that's just one of my concerns about the uniform. And another suggestion is that if a park ranger is assigned to a certain park, I think that they should be able to stay at that park for at least 6 months to a year and be able to do a hard handoff to the next park ranger to be able to explain what type of park this is, to be able to explain the residents that come to the parks and be able to know the names of the children, especially that come to the parks. Because when you recognize a kid by their name, like, hey, my son, I'm gonna use him as an example. Hey, Norwood, I haven't seen you in a couple of days. What's going on? Where have you been? Oh, I've been sick. Park ranger Dolan or whatever, but you have those relationship buildings, and sometimes they become mentors to these kids that may not have a mentor. So that was one of my hopes and aspirations for the park ranger program, is to not only keep our parks safe, but to be engaging with the community and possibly be mentors to the children and the youth that come to these parks.
I think that's a wonderful goal. And I certainly understand your concerns about, them being a symbol of authority. What I have found out since I moved here to Fresno 3 years ago, if you can believe that, it's been that long, is that a lot of our communities, are not anti-police. They're actually very, very welcoming of the police. And, when they see that uniform, they see somebody that they can trust. They see somebody that is going to make them safe. And, we want to send that same message, with the Park Ranger program. I agree with you. I think stability and consistency is very, very important at each park, to where it's part of community policing. You work at that park, you develop relationships with the people that you are serving there. And certainly that's a goal that we would like to get to, for those park rangers to have some consistency at the park that they work in, and to be able to give a good handoff to maybe the next person if they go on to do something else. So I do appreciate your comments, because I think you're right on point. Somebody told me a long time ago that we're not in policing, we're in the people business, and it's always about people, and when it's about people, it's about relationships. So that certainly is a goal of ours with this program.
And also, just for my final comment, this is not, all the parks in Fresno are different depending on what district you're in. So you're going to have youth, you're going to have residents, you're going to have seniors who have a different view of police officers in their community because of the history that has happened in our community. So just being able to have that cultural diversity training, being able to understand your community that you're working in, and then be able to repair if there's anything that needs to be repaired, any healing that needs to be going on, that you're able to do it. Because I can go into a park in Southwest Fresno, and it's completely different than going to a park in North Fresno. Whereas in North Fresno, it's just a different type of feel. In South Fresno, you have a lot of police presence at these parks. And I understand that there may be a lot of activity, but we have a homeless problem, and the homeless problem is not just in South Fresno. The homeless problem is in the city of Fresno. So just being able to keep that in mind as well, that each park is going to be different because of the district that they're in. People's perceptions that we're not anti-police. It's just that our experience has formed a perception in our minds of how we deal with police. So just making sure that the park rangers have this open mind and being able to build these relationships, so we can start thinking about public safety in parks in a different way, instead of having when we talk about public safety, we always talk about police.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. Anyone else with comments?
I'd like to add with the uniform, it would be nice to kind of soften it up a little bit with like police and Under Armour. This is going to be probably a very active person. So along those lines of even your probably Parks and Rec, community engagement people probably have their uniform, which is softer than this. So you could have a uniform for formal occasions, but this, I could imagine that it would be more just an easier approach to, and also identifiable approach for in a park, kind of just a natural, looks like you're kind of going hiking a little bit, instead of crispy shoes, like have something that's a comfortable shoe that would be, a trail shoe or boot, like a soft boot to wear. So just something that's a little bit more like camp as opposed to.
Sure. No, I totally understand your perspective, and if you wouldn't mind, considering mine. one of my big concerns with this program is putting these park rangers in an unsafe situation. You know, what we learn in policing is that the first level of any force is just mere presence. The fact that I'm in this room wearing this uniform is people are going to act a little bit differently than if I were not in this room. Maybe they won't commit a crime. Maybe they won't, conduct an act of violence. So, these park rangers are tasked with identifying criminal activity in these parks. And I completely agree with your comments. You know, these parks should be a safe place where people can come and enjoy the park and have family activities. That's what we all want. But in reality, some of our parks are frequented by gang members, by people who are armed, by people who commit acts of violence. So I can't soften up the uniform too much to where they don't show that they're there as a symbol of some type of authority. You know, if they are looked upon as security guards or as people that do not have the ability to make a police report, to call for police assistance, or to give minor citation, then it takes away their effectiveness. And it may even put them in a little bit of danger. So I'm trying really hard to balance, the fact that we want them to be engaging, we want them to look like park rangers, but at the same time understand that they are a part of the police department, and they work for parks, and they're there to maintain they are there to give an aura of safety. I can be safe here because there's somebody here watching out for me. So that's kind of my balance. So I can't make it that soft to where they're going to be ridiculed or not respected for their dress. So that's something that we're still trying to work on, and we're struggling with a little bit.
And you mentioned olive drab versus blue. So for olive drab or green,
it's
a darker green.
OD green is that green, that's foresty color with a tan shirt. And so that's what we're looking at right now. And very similar, those are the standard colors for the National Park Service. That's where we got those colors from. But it's got the park's logo instead of a badge. We're going to change that. And then the patch matches the color. I can't put a blue patch on a brown uniform, but it's going to match their uniform, and it's going to say Park Ranger on it. So a little bit of authority, but at the same time it does say Park Ranger on the patch.
One more question. During training, are the different pathways talked about when it comes to career rise? Like, even though you're training to be a park ranger, but these are other career paths that you can take within this program. This could be a starting or a stepping stone.
Absolutely. And I was just corrected by Director Aguirre. There's a cadet, Park Ranger 1 or Park Ranger 2 once they have certain seniority. So that pay does go up to about $4,700 a month, which is a little bit more attractive. But absolutely. I mean, some of these park rangers may start out as park rangers, and they may become I-Bureau techs or crime scene investigators that go out and process crime scenes. So some of them may become cadets and be future police officers. So there's one great thing about our city is that there's so many job classifications that whatever their interest is, whatever their draw is, hopefully we can find something that keeps them connected to this community and to our city.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, could I ask a quick question?
Yes, Commissioner Barraza.
I want to thank you for your sensitivity in that you're already thinking about kind of modifying a little bit so that they do look like park rangers. Thank you so much. Sometimes we tend to get very stubborn about an idea, but it's good to have flexibility, and we really appreciate that. The other thing relates to the homeless. I see that that's one of the training components that the park rangers get. What do they do nowadays? What would a park ranger do when they see an encampment at a park? How does that work?
Well, what they would do is, first of all, if they identify that a city ordinance or law is being violated, they would ask the individual to remove themselves from there if they are violating the law. But we have very strict limitations. They're not to take any enforcement action. Really, what we want them to do is to identify any illegal encampments that start popping up. So one of the extensions of this program is also going to be the trails along the canals. So we are going to have some park rangers, along the trails, and part of their job is to identify if a new encampment has started that wasn't there the day before, and they are to report that to the HART team. That way, they can plan that later as far as accessing that person, asking them to leave, or removing the camp altogether. But that's not their primary function. Their primary function function is to be the eyes and ears, and a lot of times they can give information. They can, hey, sir, you're not supposed to do that. Can you please pick that up? And a lot of times people will comply, and that's part of the uniform, the fact that they have a patch. They're a park ranger, but they resemble some authority. But in those cases where the person's uncooperative, well, then we ask that they contact a police officer or supervisor, and then we can formulate a plan on how to address it.
I know you said there was a park ranger classification 1 and 2. I think this commission has asked for those classifications before, but we haven't received them. Is it possible for this commission to be able to receive them to help with recruitment?
Absolutely. I will give them to the Parks Director so he can get them to you.
Thank you, Chief.
Sure.
You
My
have a
pleasure.
good evening.
Thank you.
We will now move on to our next workshop, ID number 23-1580, Overview of Parks Department Fiscal Year 2024 After School Recreation and Community Service Programs to inform the FY 2025 budget. Will someone from the Parks Department please begin the presentation?
Here.
Hi.
Good evening, Commission. Thank you all for having us today. I'm going to be presenting on the programming that has been happening in the Parks Department this year. I'm going to ask that if there are any questions, we hold off until the end because we do have a program specialist from each of the programs here to help answer all of your questions. Let me see if I can get this. Oh. It's a little delayed here. Okay. So, going over activities and recreational programs, we have 12 of them within the Parks Department currently. We have action sports, adaptive recreation, adult sports. We have after-school programming, aquatics. We have Camp Fresno, neighborhood safety and community engagement, also known as the ONCE program. We have science, senior programming, sports, play, active recreation for kids, also known as SPARK. We have the youth employment, and we also have youth sports. We're going to begin talking about action sports. Parks receives grant funding from the Office of Traffic Safety, also known as OTS, that funds activities to raise awareness about traffic rules, rights, and responsibilities while promoting safety of bicyclists and pedestrians. Following educational presentations, there can be helmets, reflective safety items, and bicycle headlights and taillights that can be distributed during those for those that need them. Action sports also include mountain biking, BMX racing, and competitions. We have the Bicycle and Pedestrian Safety Program. Those activities include targeting all age groups with educational workshops, bicycle safety courses, and helmet fitting inspections. And at Woodward Park BMX Racetrack, currently this fiscal year, it is operating February through November, and it's operating all Thursday nights and Saturday and Sunday mornings. The bike jumps and trails are open to the public year-round. Another program that we have available is the Adaptive Recreation Program. This program provides safe, enjoyable, and inclusive recreation opportunities for all abilities and ages. Recreational activities include social dances, adaptive sports, culturally inclusive activities, inclusive hands-on science, and theme-based adaptive special events. Adaptive recreation activities are offered regularly at Ted C. Wills Community Center, but can be offered at any of our programs if there is an accessibility requirement that needs to be met for any of our community members that are wanting to participate in any of our programs. Adult sports. The sports that are offered through the adult sports program are softball, basketball, soccer, and cricket. The adult sports program offers year-round recreational and competitive play for members of the community ages 18 and older. Games are played on weekday evenings and weekends, usually held at Ted C. Wills Gym, Regional Sports Complex, Inspiration Parks, and other local neighborhood parks as well. Our after-school programming currently has 19 centers running. 4 of those are open on Saturdays as well, and then there are another 4 that are open Saturday and Sunday. The after-school programming offers a safe environment for youth ages 5 to 17 to learn and explore through an array of engaging games and activities such as arts and crafts, health and fitness, and sports. From homework centers and science exploration classes to tech, health, and wellness, Parks is dedicated to fostering children's growth through community-centered programs at these centers. Our next program, which is probably our most used program, especially in these hot summer Fresno days, is the aquatics program. It is designed to provide the community with opportunity for safe, fun, low-cost summer recreational swimming, swim lessons, and senior water exercises at various locations throughout Fresno. All lifeguards that work for the city of Fresno in the aquatics program are certified lifeguards with first aid and CPR training. We currently have 8 locations that also have splash pads to help with our youth. And we offer the swimming lessons, recreational swimming, and as part of the lifeguard training, we also have the junior lifeguard training, which helps teenagers as young as 14 work their way up to become a lifeguard. We have Camp Fresno, which is also available. It's a family-oriented retreat in the Sierra Nevada mountains. It has been City of Fresno operated facility for decades. They offer 51 cabins for public rentals. The Parks Department also conducts recreation activities at the camp, emphasizing support for disadvantaged youth and young adults. The activities encompass hiking, fishing, art, career development, and other programming activities. Next, we have the Neighborhood Safety and Community Engagement, also known as ONCE. They collaborate with partners to reduce community violence, offering support to youth and families through various programs. It coordinates community-wide efforts to prevent violence by providing job readiness training, tutoring, tattoo removal, and street outreach. Over 100 local service providers come together to offer a wide range of resources for youth and young adults, including substance abuse intervention, mental health support, education, housing, and other essential services. They do a lot. Our science program is very unique. The Highway City Community Science Center offers citywide programming aimed at fostering a love for science among the youth. They provide hands-on workshops, monthly teen science nights, mobile science workshops at various community centers, and family science events. With over 50 hands-on exhibits, the program immerses the community in science, offering next-generation science standard lesson plans to enhance participants' knowledge in life science, physics, chemistry, engineering, and technology. As part of our seniors program, we have 9 locations. The majority are Monday through Friday, and the programming usually runs 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And then we also have the Link at Blackstone, which is open all the way through Saturday. And we have the CAP Center, which is also open on Saturdays. We also provide senior hot meals, free to anyone over 60 at 6 of those centers. The senior recreation program provides specialized activities tailored to the unique needs and interests of Fresno seniors population. The senior programming aims to provide quality of life in safe and enjoyable environment through recreation and community building. Now, for sports play active recreation for kids, also known as SPARK. This is implemented in up to 29 Fresno Unified School sites. Parks is not necessarily at all of them, but we are engaged in quite a few. They emphasize on health and fitness education using approved curriculum. It incorporates diverse physical activities to enhance overall fitness and movement skills, while also including age-appropriate nutrition literacy to promote healthy eating habits among children. Our youth employment program is a 7-week summer program which offers youth mentorship with an emphasis on employment readiness and life skill development. During the 7 weeks, participants work on activities like custodial work, park maintenance, and supporting summer camps while earning a paycheck and gaining valuable life skills. They also attend paid workshops that align with the youth development and principles. As you see here, some of the youth visited the fire department, so they can see what that was all about. So they get to explore different careers also within the city and see what sparks their interest. And we have youth sports, which is very popular. The youth sports program provides opportunities for youth ages 3 to 15 to participate in recreational programs. Youth sports provides a supportive and safe environment for the youth while bringing the community closer together to create lasting memories. Through the program, participants engage in the development of skills, teamwork, socialization, problem solving, and many other life skills. Participants also experience physical improvements in hand-eye coordination and balance endurance. Let's see here. And one of the things that we have available now through our programming, which has allowed many people to participate in our programming, is the youth fee waiver, thanks to you all. The youth fee waiver provides financial support to low-income families, helping them cover program fees for various activities. By completing a simple application, families can determine their eligibility for the fee waiver. If approved, the program costs for the calendar year are significantly reduced. So the fee waiver does run January to December. If a family applies in December, they will be notified that in January they have to reapply. But if you apply in January, then you're basically taken care of for the whole year. We did start it a little late this fiscal year in 2023. That started in January, so we were halfway through the fiscal year. But so far for the fiscal year in 2023, we did have 365 people who applied for that fee waiver. And that is the rundown of all of our programs. We will open it up to you all for some questions, and I will invite our friends to help us answer those.
Thank you so much for that presentation. Commissioner Barraza, do you have any questions?
I did have a question, but it disappeared. That's a sign of age, I guess. The job training programs and maybe career development. I noticed on the list you showed youth employment. What type of service or program is that? That's my first question, but I also would like to know, what is your partnership with the Fresno Unified School District as you implement job training or career development, or you even have youth employment? I just wonder, how does that program work?
You're asking if the youth employment has any partnerships with the Fresno Unified School District at the moment?
Well, first of all, how extensive is the program of job training for our youth?
We have.
Yeah, if we can have Haley Fields, our program manager for youth employment, and she can answer your question.
Okay. Hello. Okay, so as far as partnerships go for the youth employment program, we've developed we've linked up with the Teachers Academy for FUSD that is at all of all of Fresno Unified Schools right now. So right now we're creating an internship with them. So that is one of those pipelines. So this is for FUSD. They have a class that's dedicated to learning what it takes to be a teacher. And so we are able to facilitate an internship by having them be in our community centers, feeling that that is the closest thing to a class-like, environment. So that is a budding internship that we're creating and implementing this next semester. And then we do, I think we had close to 15 job fairs and community events with FUSD. And I'm sorry, did I answer all of your questions?
Are the job fairs just for youth or for adults also?
The ones with FUSD, yes, they are usually during the school day. So we'll go there and we'll, usually it's like 1 to 2 periods. But it's not just Fresno Unified. We do outreach everywhere. So the ones specific to Fresno Unified are usually at their schools, and it is youth. The youth employment program itself is ages 16 to 24. So that is our target demographic. But since obviously, the 18 to 24 is a little bit older, we also do outreach at Fresno State, Fresno City, just general community events. So yeah, we try to have a vast array of opportunities to make sure that we're reaching our target audience and capturing the city of Fresno community.
Thank you.
Sure.
Commissioner Miller?
No questions. I just think this is great stuff, and thank you all for your work on it.
Thank you.
Love it.
Vice Chair Dolan?
Yes, thank you. So for each of the, you alluded to several of these programs that are very popular, aquatics and youth sports. Do you have a breakout of how many participants and how many staff are in each one of these programs? And could we track that over a several-year span so we could see how they're...
We are currently in the middle of getting all of our data together. We will be presenting that data through the annual report for the fiscal year. But we are implementing new strategies to have all of that set. So yes, we are currently keeping track of all of that. And our plan is to report on it through our annual report.
Great. And do we partner with any state or federal agencies on any of these programs?
We do, if I can answer that. We have a few different partnerships. The Office of Traffic Safety, of course, is a partnership that's federal funded passed through the state. If I got that right? Okay, got a thumbs up. And I know that the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Community Engagement, they also have several grants that they administer, which are passed through from both federal and state agencies.
Great. And one last question, which may be too specific, but do they provide meals with these programs where appropriate?
Yes, I know that after-school programming provides a snack. And then we also we provide meals with the senior programming. And any other program? Camp Fresno. Camp Fresno for sure.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cummings?
Just kind of a basic question about the youth sports. Is there a reason why it's just 3 to 15? Why it doesn't extend to 17?
Sarah?
All right, so we're going to call up Sarah Hamilton, our program manager for youth sports.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Specifically, we used to offer it all the way up to age 17. We're just competing with so many different organizations, with AAU, with high school sports. So it wasn't something that was really providing, kids were just not enrolling. So we kind of scaled it back and started focusing more, offering more sessions for our younger kids, which tend to fill up. So we would offer it, but after years and years of zero interest, we kind of pulled away and just set our sights in a different area.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kurcharski?
Every time you get better.
I'm trying.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. My question is, can you help me understand the Parks Department? Is this every program in the Parks Department, plus the Ranger program that's new? Or are there others outside of this presentation?
These are all of the programs that are offered through the Parks Department. Each program can, basically we have the community centers also, and each community center can have like an event. They can have a specific calendar dedicated to that recreation center. So there could be many things happening, but specific to programming, these are the programs that we offer.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
if I can add on to that just real quick,
please.
each one of our community centers has a dedicated recreation specialist, and that recreation specialist is really the front line. They're there to really understand the needs of the community that engages in that neighborhood. So in a lot of ways, that community center-based activity, it's kind of incubating future programs. So they're learning what the community there really needs. They're piloting different activities. You'll see a lot of flyers and things on our social media where, like for example, our guitar lessons that we tested out. So a lot of the community centers are sort of kind of incubating some of those new programming ideas.
That's helpful too. Yeah, I just wanted to get a good idea of everything the Parks Department does. I'm still wrapping my mind around all the activities. Yes, so thank you. And then one last thing is, if you are looking for another local state agency to partner with, Sierra Resource Conservation District is focused on conservation of our land, air, and water. So if there's any ways in which you see potential for that partnership, please reach out.
Definitely, we'll keep in mind.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Commissioner Ward.
Yeah, I had questions on two areas. One was the adaptive recreation. I remember when Inspiration Park was being built, it had a lot of features put in to, I think, be more accessible to children with different abilities. And I was wondering if there's specific adaptive programming that's happening at that park, or there's to reach the children who don't have, who need maybe adaptive resources available to them.
You guys are getting practice for the real budget next year.
Inspiration Park obviously does have a lot of the adaptive equipment and the miracle fields. So with a lot of our adaptive sports camps, we take those directly out to Inspiration Park. That center in its own has a big adaptive population, so they do offer activities there in the daytime. There is a recreation specialist there that will serve that population. And then we have our adaptive recreation specialist out of Ted C. Wills. So she provides a lot of the programming from Ted C. Wills, but she'll take it to different centers as needed. And it's a newer program. We just kind of changed over to adaptive recreation within the past 18 months or so. And so she's continuing to grow and build. And the hope is that we can kind of duplicate that program, take it back out to Inspiration and some of the other centers as well. We pretty much are at capacity at Ted C. Wills, so it operates Monday through Friday from 9 to 12:30, and we have 50 to 60 participants daily. So we're hoping to take it everywhere because there really is a need.
Okay, great, thank you. My other question was about the science program. I had the opportunity to see the mobile science bus because it came out to my kid's school a few months ago, and it was really fun, and all the employees who were there were really engaged with the children. And I think one of the questions that kind of had come up maybe when this commission was looking at that before was what opportunities are there to get that to other parts of the community, and is there a plan for that in the upcoming year?
We have Cheryl from our science program.
Hi, Commissioners. Yeah, so the Mobile Science Unit, it's a pretty cool lab on wheels, and really it goes to any school site. We've gone to parks. I'll have principals or even teachers reach out to me and ask if they can have the Mobile Science Unit come out. There is a fee. We have a master fee schedule, and so currently that's $146 for a minimum of 2 hours. And that includes the staff. And then we also provide a project. If the school site would like to have a project, that's included in that cost. There are roughly 2 to 3 staff members that will go out and do the presentation, and it's a walkthrough. It's really cool. It's When you see it, we'll set up a table in the outside of the unit. We have gone to Clovis as well, as Fresno, of course. And so it's really been open. We have flyers that will go out when we go to other parks events. We will present the ideas to people, and it's just kind of word of mouth right now. But it's a really great opportunity. Mm-hmm.
And to add to that, Commissioner, this does go to our other centers as well. So we do bring science to our other centers in addition to the reservations and other community events. So,
Just a follow-up question, Erin, can you stay right there, please? I know when this came up a couple of meetings ago, I asked a question about extending this program to other parks with community centers. How is that process looking so far?
so we're developing that schedule, and we should have a list to share with you probably through the trade memo process. We can share where we're going to be and the hours of operation for your viewing pleasure.
Okay, I just want to make sure that Sunset is a possibility because it's a highly utilized after-school program, and I think that this will be good. I mean, I'm glad that the science bus does travel to different schools and different parks, but to have something permanent there, especially in South Fresno, would be really good. So I'm looking at like Sunset, and I'm also looking at like Musqueda.
Absolutely. We're there, and that presence will continue to grow as we kind of expand our footprint in those centers in that community.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to the update. I also have some other questions. I noticed that we have on the presentation youth sports, but what type of youth sports? They were not mentioned. I know pickleball and cricket is very popular, but as I ride around town, I still see youth football. I see youth soccer. So just wondering, like, what type of youth sports are being offered?
I'm going to have Sarah come up, but you're correct. We're right in the midst of youth football right now.
Mm-hmm.
And just want to highlight with that youth fee waiver, we actually have a pretty cool opportunity next, is it the 19th? 18th. The recipients or the first and second place championship team, first place and second place, we're actually giving them vouchers to Fresno State football game, 4 tickets. So, and again, just expanding them to the college atmosphere, what potentially academics and sports can't do for you. So a way of opening their eyes to, it's not just football in a park, it could lead you to this Bulldog Stadium type deal. So I'm gonna have Sarah answer the other specifics for you.
Sarah, you might as well just stay up here. Don't go back to your seat. Yeah, sit in the front row.
So youth sports is split up into our biddy sports and our junior sports. So biddy sports is ages 3 to 6 years old, and then junior sports is ages 7 to 15. So for our 3 to 6 year olds, we have youth soccer, both indoor and outdoor. We have basketball, and then we have t-ball. And we do those kind of different parks. We operate 3 weekdays out of the week and then on Saturdays. And so we take those sports to pretty much every park. We try to hit every side of town. And for our junior sports, we offer basketball, junior flag football, and then we have a fitness camp.
Okay, thanks. Commissioner Vice Chair Dolan, I'm getting confused here.
That's okay. I just have one quick comment, which I meant to say earlier. I just wanted to thank you, Sarah, for that presentation. It was really well done. I wanted to thank Haley and Sarah and Cheryl for continuing to run up and do this, and really appreciate the work.
Thank you.
I'm just kind of curious about the Mosqueda Center. Reading and Beyond, who gets credit for what they do? Do you guys get credit for whatever it is they do, or what's the arrangement with them?
All right, so I'll announce our business manager, Shelby McNabb.
Hi, yeah, so we have a service agreement with Reading and Beyond, and as part of that, they provide quarterly reporting on who they're serving, what programs they're offering, and how many people are reached. So we could get that information for you. We don't take credit, but we do ask what services are provided and then report out on that.
Do they pay rent?
They do have $1 rent, but in exchange for that, under their agreement that was adopted by council, they provide all the services at no cost to the participants. So those agreements are publicly available and outline the full range of services that they're providing.
But the Parks Department is in charge of the sports area, isn't that correct? Or
That's correct. And we also have some office space that we're using for the after-school programming at that location as well. But we are in charge of the outdoor programming, yes.
thank you.
One more question for you.
Me?
Who, I know Commissioner Barraza mentioned Reading and Beyond in Mosqueda Center. Who's housed in Sunset Center? Do we have a CBO that's housed in Sunset Center?
No, that agreement concluded over the summer. There was another organization that was providing some gardening services, but they have since completed their project for TCC. So right now we have park staff out there operating the after-school programming.
Are there any plans to bring in any other CBOs into that area? Because I know the other CBO that was in that center had built relationships with the residents in the surrounding areas, especially the kids and the parents. And because they're not there anymore, I remember if it was earlier this year, there was a lot of testimony in having them to stay there. So are there any plans to bring in another CBO to repair those relationships or build those relationships back up?
Not at this time. However, I will say we have partnered with the school to establish a relationship for after-school programming, and that's been very successful. We've been able to attend their carnival and reach out to parents and just really maintain the relationships in the neighborhood. We are also partnered with a lot of CBOs through our Violence Intervention and Prevention initiative. Street Saints is one that was funded to do some program work through that grant program. And then we also partner on different community events and things. So it's really important that we maintain our relationships with the community agencies, but we are not currently seeking additional agencies at the centers at this time.
Final question. Have you seen a decline in the after-school program since Street Saints was removed from there?
No, actually, I think at last count had around 18 to 20 enrolled, and we've been working to increase those numbers as well.
How many are enrolled?
18 to 20.
18 to 20?
Yeah, and I believe their numbers were similar, maybe slightly higher, 25 or so, but I'd have to look at the information.
What's the average number of the after-school programs of children attending in the community centers that host it?
So that is a pop quiz. I don't know it off the top of my head, but we do have that data available, so we can get that for you in a trade memo.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioners, any other questions in regards to this presentation? Thank you so much for that presentation.
Thank you all.
All right, so we will now move on to hearings. ID number 23-1581, hearing actions pertaining to the Parks After School Recreation and Community Service Parks Department fiscal year 2025 budget build as it relates to capital projects, after-school recreation and community service programs, and trails and beautification and the San Joaquin River Parkway. 1, presentation overview of the fiscal year 2025 budget build process. Secondly, receive public input on expenditures related to the Parks Department fiscal year 2025 budget. Lastly, action made recommendations to the City Council for adoption of expenditures in connection to the Parks Department fiscal 2025 budget. Would someone from the Parks Department please begin the presentation? That was a lot.
Could have given me time to come around. So.
Yeah.
All right, so this item is really introducing the budget process. It's that time of year again. Sorry, I need my clicker here. And this is really kind of building on what we started last week. So I have on this slide here, the meetings highlighted for the rest of the year. As you can see, we've only got 5 meetings because, of course, we are not on the 16th, we're on the 30th. But on the 16th, we did have Summer and Joseph present our capital projects portfolio. And what we wanted to do this year, if you remember last year, we had a really big presentation. So we tried to break it up this year. We brought you the capital projects portfolio last week. This week, we're going to bring you, of course, we just brought you the programming. And then next week, actually, we have landscape, trails, and the San Joaquin River Conservancy. So we'll have our colleagues in Public Works available to share information on those programs with you. And the objective there is really to set the stage so that you have a really comprehensive understanding of everything that we're currently doing, so that you can make really good informed recommendations for the FY25 budget. After each one of these meetings, each one of these presentations, we'll ask the Commission to open a public hearing for input on public needs for the FY25 budget, and then ask if you have any budget motions or recommendations to City Council that you would like to make. And then, of course, on November 20th I want to say it's not quite, it's the penultimate hearing. You'll have another opportunity in May, which I'll show you in a second. But
So for this cycle, sorry, Ed, didn't mean to interrupt you. November 20th will be the last meeting that we're able to make recommendations for this year. And then next year we'll have another opportunity, correct?
It's the last meeting where you'll be able to make recommendations before we start preparing our budget recommendation to the mayor.
So November 20th is the last meeting.
Right, but you will have another opportunity, and I'll show you that full schedule in just a moment here. So after the 20th, that's when the Parks Department, we're really going to get started on preparing what we call the mid-year estimate. All of the city departments prepare a mid-year estimate. We project, we look at all of the expenses that have been recorded up until that date, December 31st. And then we project the second half of the year to really do two things: to determine both what the revenue forecast will be for FY25, as well as to really get an idea. It's kind of the first step of the budget process. We're really getting in the weeds and understanding all of the numbers so that we can build a really good FY25 budget. But key is the mid-year process identifies any carryover balance that we might have in any of our funds, whether those are Measure P, grant funds, et cetera. And that gives us the starting line that we use to build the the next year's budget. So that mid-year estimate is done in December and January. And then in January and February, we'll prepare our budget recommendation to the mayor. So the department will have all of our program managers, our area managers, they'll prepare their budget recommendations to the Parks Administration. And we'll put all of that together and present a balanced budget to the mayor. And then in March, that's our big deadline. All of our business function is busy putting all of that information into our budget management system, which sends that all up to the city manager's office so that they can reconcile that against the total city budget. The mayor then, of course, will present his budget to City Council, estimated that will occur in May. And then immediately after that, we'll bring the mayor's budget recommendation back to this commission. So in May, you'll also have an opportunity to make any additional motions or recommendations to City Council as well. And then in June, we'll have that's really your final opportunity to make recommendations prior to the City Council adoption of the budget, which will occur in June. So here's the very long description of today's action again. So of course we had the presentation earlier about our programs, and then I'm just giving you now the overview presentation of the FY 2025 budget build process. I will bring this to you a couple more times just to kind of make sure that we stay on target and are really coordinated as we build out the FY 2025 budget. And next, we'll ask you to receive public input on expenditures related to the Parks Department's FY 2025 budget, and then, of course, welcome any actions, any recommendations that you have for the City Council so that we can take those into consideration as we're preparing our department budget submission as well. I put some examples of motions up there. Of course, you don't have to follow that format, but if you would like to make a motion to allocate a specific amount of funds for a program or for a public infrastructure improvement at a specific location, we welcome those motions, and I can take any questions that you may have at this time.
Thank you, Ed, for that presentation. I think I'll go first this time because I do have a couple of questions. I think this is our third year for the budget cycle, if I'm not mistaken. So how are we going to handle members of the public or any CBOs who are looking to have allocation from Measure P towards their programs or projects? Are we going to have them being placed on the agenda, or are we going to keep the standing item on there and give them 3 minutes to present? Is that process still going to be the same?
Yeah, that's a great question. And yes, the standing hearing is still on the agenda. So if any member of the public would like to make a recommendation to this commission for your consideration and your recommendations to City Council, that standing hearing still remains.
Are they able to request to be placed on the agenda to have more time to make a pitch for allocation of Measure P?
That's a great question. I'll defer to our city attorney if I can ask if a member of the public would like to be agendized on a commission agenda. Is there a process for that?
We'll look into that and get back to you. Generally, for instance, there is an opportunity for timed public comment, but that would be a pre-planned situation. Otherwise, they would be here for public comment. So if somebody's got like a presentation they'd like to make, there would be an opportunity for that, yes.
And they have to send an email to the
It would
city
have to
clerk?
be beforehand, and then they would have to get approval through the chair, et cetera, to be placed on the agenda.
Thank you. I'm just asking because I have residents and other smaller CBOs who are asking, like, how can they pitch a project to get funding for Measure P? So I just want to make sure that I'm relaying what is correctly done, the process. So that's why I'm asking those questions.
Madam Chair.
Thank you.
A point of clarification, just with relation to that, it would be a pre-planned appearance, but it would be limited to the 3 minutes for public comment per usual.
Maybe what, a 1 to 5 slide presentation?
Whatever they'd like, but it would be the same limit that any other member of the public would have.
Thank you. Commissioner Barraza?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Would that be an open-ended process for the public to come in and ask for funding? Or is there a way for park staff to identify the pots of money that are possible that they be used for the allocation of resources to nonprofits? I mean, how much information can we give the public so that they are as well informed about what's really available?
That's a great question. The ordinance does, and we'll probably want to do a little bit of digging on this, but the ordinance does have language specific to how community organizations or how grants may be administered through this ordinance. But we can look into that for you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Miller?
I have nothing else right now, thanks.
Vice Chair Dolan?
No, nothing at this time.
Commissioner Cummings?
So definitely, we had discussed previously about a process for these other organizations, these CBOs, to be able to compete in the same way that we're setting it up for the arts component. Didn't we even talk about a number of like $1 million to be able to establish a mechanism to where they can apply for these grants? So I'd like to reiterate that that's extremely important. We're really far along to not have that in place yet, and we value the services that they provide to the parks and community centers.
Great, thank you. We'll
Thank you.
record that.
Commissioner Kurcharski? I'm trying.
Yeah, it's okay. Couple questions, thank you. What is the actual amount that's available through the tax? Does it change significantly every year? Like, how much are we looking at varying year to year? Like,
Yeah, so the tax revenue estimate is prepared by the city's finance department. in consultation with the professionals that they contract with for forecasting. In the FY24 budget, it was approximately $46 million, but we can bring a breakdown of how that allocates according to the different expenditure categories of the ordinance.
That would be really helpful for me. Also, what would be the most helpful for you in the Parks Department from us when we're bringing motions forward for your budgets? I mean, I imagine you probably get a lot of varying, requests, and it would be helpful for me to hear what is most helpful for you to do your job well from us.
That's a tough one. It's a tall order preparing the budget. And there are, of course, a lot of different competing priorities, even among these folks that you see in the room here. We would love to give everybody new cars, new trucks, and new laptops, and all the sports equipment that they could possibly need for the different activities. So I think it's really about identifying, it's very hard to figure out where the gap is. And as you heard earlier from Sarah when she was talking about the fact that in youth sports we have ages that don't include some of those older youth. And it's really because when you look at our services and offerings in the total ecosystem of recreational programs in the Central Valley, we're trying to sort of complete the puzzle, right? So if there is any recommendation that is backed up by data that can clearly articulate what that need is, that would certainly be really helpful, even if it's just a tip. The folks on this dais know a lot more than the sum total of any one of us who are standing and preparing the budget. So in many cases, you can make a recommendation and kind of give us a thread that we can pull. Oh, and I think Director Aguirre has some comments.
Just along those same lines, your constituency groups that you represent, if there's a specific need that you feel is being left out that maybe we haven't heard. Oftentimes at council and commission meetings, we hear from a lot of different groups, but if there's a specific group that you feel maybe we aren't capturing, we aren't tailoring to, we'd love to hear that feedback as to what those needs are. Because again, we want to make sure our parks are used throughout the community by all, not just select groups. So any of that type of feedback of maybe where we're missing, like last year, for instance, cricket was something that we missed. So that's something now you see. So if we can get that feedback from your constituency groups, that'd be great.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Commissioner Ward?
Yeah, I had a question about, I guess, where something like this would come up. So in Measure P, Section 7-1508, 5, E5, it talks about the 0.75% of funds that's supposed to help with administrative implementation. When Commissioner Mueller and I were working on the development of the arts guidelines and that program, we identified that the service provider doesn't have the capacity to do the translation and that we feel is necessary to make these materials available, and the city didn't have the funds available to do that either. So I think our committee was hoping that was something that could be considered when we're making the budget recommendations for the coming year. Is that something that we would bring up? Is that implementation dollars? Is that looked at as the same as the things that are looked at for programming and other areas of funding?
Yeah, so if I can clarify, you're asking if that funding can be made available to support organizations, or are you asking for us to use it to adapt our language materials, et cetera?
We just identified that as like a need when we were developing that's part of the program, and I wasn't sure how that would come up. Do we ask the Arts Council to come and ask at a public meeting that they could be budgeted in for next year for translation support? I think our concern is that the materials are not going to be made available in the full range of languages.
That's a great question. I might have to do some research on. The 0.75 is really to administer the whole ordinance. And so we'll have to do a little bit of research, but we can get you an answer on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would now like to go out to public. Would any member of the public like to provide a comment regarding this item? You will have up to 3 minutes for comment. Do we have anyone online?
This time.
Thank you. I will now close public comment. Does this commission have any recommendations that they would like to give to the Parks Department regarding the Measure P 2022 annual report? So I don't take it? Correct. Okay. All right, so we will.
Madam Chair, just a question on the $1 million that was made as a motion for the allocation to nonprofit organizations. Whatever happened to that motion?
Now, I will defer that to the Parks Department.
It was approved by the commission, but was that something that went to the council and didn't go anywhere, or what happened?
Correct. I believe council last year recommended some additional dollars for youth fee, but did not act upon that recommendation there.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. We will now move on to hearing.
Sorry, was there any other input from council on that as to why? I mean, just so that we can guide our own recommendations.
Sure, I can go back and look and see if there was anything on the record. Off the top of my head, I can't pull anything, but I can check.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We will now move on to the next hearing. ID number 23-1573. Receive public input on allocations related to Measure P, updates to the Parks Master Plan and Cultural Arts Plan, and annual Parks Department budget and capital improvement plans. Would any member of the public like to provide a comment regarding this item? You will have up to 3 minutes for comment. No one in the chambers, anyone online?
There are no speakers at this time.
Thank you. I will now close public comment. Does any member of the commission have questions or comments regarding this item? All right. Well, I would like to adjourn the meeting in Dr. Francina Puta's memory. She is greatly missed on this commission, and the time is 7:18. Enjoy the rest of your time with your families, and I see you at our next meeting. Thank you.